Inspector Fisi, only on KTN.
Business Today, in association with Telkom.
Celebrating our heritage, we are stepping into a bold new future. Join us. Telkom, moving with you.
Well, indeed, thank you for staying with us here on KTN Business Today. My name is Peter Wakaba. Now, despite the coming election, causing election jitters in many segments of the economy, some are surprisingly showing resilience. Analysts are saying that the Kenyan economy has indeed matured enough to be able to weather this storm and, of course, drive the economy forward right into and after the election. Take a look.
Yes, this is an election year. I think we are aware of that. But strangely enough, if you look at the general performance of the economy and the so-called business outlook, you'll note that we don't feel as if we are in an election year. As an example, the currency has not collapsed. In fact, I think I saw a report yesterday saying that we must have the most stable currency in the world, strangely enough. Interest rates appear to be fairly stable. They have not shot through the roof. I think the level of the T-bill now is about 8.3%. If you look at the stock market, I think it is up about 15% this year, for whatever reason. So in fact, it is even better than it was in years where we've not had elections, which is quite strange.
Well, just how come the economy is showing resilience, and indeed which parts are doing really well, and why is that the case? Well, to discuss just that and explain to us what exactly is going on here, two experts here in studio to delve into that conversation. One, the president of the CFA's Society of East Africa, Eleanor Chepto Kigen Ouko, quite a mouthful, Karibu. And Elizabeth Nkuku, CFA, Chief Investment Officer and Head of Site on Real Estate. Yes, so indeed, well, coming to this discussion, the fact of the matter has been that Kenya continues to see a lot of investment coming in, FDI, despite the fact that we are going to an election. In the past, we've seen that this hasn't been the case. We've had dips, we've had ups and downs. Why are we showing resilience this time around?
I think if you look at what the market is doing, yes, there's a lot of maturity. Yes. So look at any sector today. If you take manufacturing, you can do better. Mm-hmm. If you talk about financial services, you can do better. So as a country, there's a lot of resilience because the services are still required, yes, and the growth is there. But even if you look at the previous elections, there has not been significant dips. So as long as there's, you're looking at a sector that is growing, the valuations are right, so mm-hmm, the right time to jump into the market. For example, the stock market, I think in 2007 we had a stock rally, yes, just before the elections. In 2012, mm-hmm, the same thing. So even now, it's still the same thing. Mm-hmm. The market has actually gone up almost more than 10% on, yes, a year-to-date basis. So we think that looking at the fundamentals of the companies, then there's still a lot of value for investors looking into invest. Mm-hmm. That's one. If you look at the other people really looking to invest into their country, let's say I talk about the diaspora, continues to get a lot of inflows back into the country. Mm-hmm. Irrespective of where you are, you still have to come home one, mm-hmm, day. Mm-hmm. So a sector like real estate will always perform better because if I live in the US, if I live in Canada or wherever, I still need a house to come home to. Yes. So there are some of those sectors that are not significantly affected by elections because, mm-hmm, the potential demand is there. Yes. Yes, so that's why we are seeing a lot of resilience in what is happening in, uh-huh, the market.
Could it also be the fact that, and I want to come to you, the fact that we might be seeing investors who are now beginning to take a longer-term view and saying that we're not investing for the short term, but we want to invest in the longer term, for the long term. And thus the ups and downs of elections are not really factored in here.
That's true. Mm-hmm. If you look at the longer term, when you're looking at equities, you're definitely investing for a longer term. You're not looking at a short-term outlook. Yes. And if you look at over a long stretch, yes, equities always outperform, other bonds and such investments. So it's always, so that is helping keep the market afloat, yes.
Looking at the way this sort of investment is spread, what are the key areas that you think we should be looking out for?
The key events that we need to look out for?
Yes.
If I look at an investor coming in, I'll go back to the fundamentals.
Yes.
And rather than look at the economy at large, I look at specific companies. If I'm an investor ready to jump into a company for the long term, what should I care for? What is the potential of this company to generate revenues and returns and all that? The growth in earnings. What valuations am I jumping into?
Yes.
So if you look at the price to earnings ratios at the moment, yes, we are still below averages, the long-term averages. So look at the company. Don't jump into the stock market by jumping into the stock market, but look at specific companies that you're actually investing in. Look at the earnings, look at the governance, look at the long-term growth. That is what really determines what you will actually do or get as returns in the long term.
Both of you ladies are CFAs, so to say. And indeed, it's a nice title to have after your name, despite all the hard work. And could this resilience be part of the reason where we can actually say that we're attracting attention from the rest of the world? Indeed, having the global head of the, Chartered Association coming to Kenya?
It is definitely, the CFA Institute is looking at Africa as the next frontier. So the global head, the president of the CFA, president and the CEO of the CFA Institute are coming to Africa to try and see areas where they can collaborate, where we can increase the integrity in the markets. The president and the CEO was in Nigeria last week, and he had a very fruitful visit and got to meet the acting president. So here we are hoping to take him to Uganda and to Rwanda as well, because this region, we need to, really work on our capital markets, and the CFA Charter is one of those ways. The CFA programs, there's also the investment foundations programs, because when you get more knowledge, you're able to make better decisions for your investors. Yes.
A lot of people would then turn around and ask, what's in this for me? Why should I care that these people are visiting? Why should I care that there is, some sort of hoops, thresholds for people to get over before they can be mandated to handle my money in one way or another?
I'll take a step back. As an investor, what have we seen as the key thing that really determines performance of companies? Ethics is really at the middle of it. So corporate governance becomes very important. So if you look at what CFA advocates for, it's the center of everything you do should be actually the client.
Yes.
So if that is the case, then the CFA Institute or studying CFA really helps in one way. You realize what you are actually mandated to do.
Yes.
As a professional investor, I can equate you to a doctor. The same way I'll go to a doctor for a heart surgery, you give your people, you earn cash, which you really are putting in for retirement. You bring it to a professional who is an investment person. So in that case, then you have to get the person with the best qualification, who has your needs at heart, so they can wake up only, their success is so intertwined to your success, such that is the only thing they wake up doing. Yeah, so that's why CFA becomes a very key thing, and that's what they advocate, ethics at all times.
Yes. Talk to us about the need to grow people into this value chain, the fact that there's so many young people who have ambitions and dreams, and yet there's a pool of investable resources out there without yet the requisite knowledge to be able to bring them into the global value chain.
The CFA Charter is considered the global gold standard in the world of investing. Yeah. So by gaining this knowledge, you'll be able to cut a niche above yourself. You'll be able to probably give better returns to your clients because you have better knowledge, you understand the fundamentals, you understand what you should be looking out for. So it's not going to be guesswork. It's going to be going back to the knowledge that you have. And also, the CFA Charter advocates for ethics.
Yes.
Ethics is a very big component of what the CFA Charter stands for. So by giving your investors confidence that you are actually putting them first, then that means they will be more comfortable giving you funds, and we're able to grow our economy. Yes.
Indeed, ladies, to say thank you very much for taking the time to come in. And of course, just to remind our viewers that the visit by the global head of the institute will also see him give a lecture at the University of Nairobi in Kabet. And of course, you can sit in for that. Head over to their Facebook page. You'll be able to get details of that event. Well, and moving away from that, the politics of the billboards in Mombasa have intensified as supporters of the governorship candidate Bolo Awiti clashed with police officers yesterday. The officers were out to execute a court order barring Awiti from putting up billboards to aid his campaign. And as Francis Ontomo now tells us, Mombasa Inspectorate officers had a busy day pulling down what Awiti's people had spent the morning trying to put up.
A few minutes after midday and for close to an hour, Buxton area became a battleground. Supporters allied to vibrant Democratic Party leader Awiti Bolo back on a mission. Enough was enough for this group of supporters, and they needed to make things right for their candidate. They say Awiti has been denied spaces to appear on billboards. They began putting up the billboard, but halfway through the process, police officers stormed. The officers pushing the supporters to the other side of the town. And the chase could only end when the officers had managed to push them to a safe distance. And that could only be until way past the Nyali Bridge.
Na tunataka tuweke bana ya Awiti vile hao pia wameka bana ya Joe. Sababu ukitembea hapa hii Nyali Bridge utapata bana nini hizo vitu za Joe kutoka hapa mpaka Mtwapa.
We are telling them and we are affirming our support for Governor Awiti that whatever step he shall take, provided that he follows the law, we shall go with him everywhere.
Sisi kama vijana wa Mombasa hatujafurahishwa na hicho kitendo cha bwana Awiti. Yeye kama anataka kuwa aspirant afuate sheria.
On location, the Mombasa Inspectorate officers who had initially been chased from the scene could now sigh in relief. They began pulling down the gigantic structure. Mombasa County government had obtained court orders to restrain Awiti from erecting billboards and at the same time to have him appear before a Mombasa court Friday.
You cannot block a school like Shah. You cannot come and put a billboard in front of a school. Those children in that school have a right to a clear view of the city streets. Those children have a right to the view of the beautiful sea that is right in front of them.
We are in a battle. We are seeking for governorship. It is not a child's play. We must be seen. We must. Whether we Ndakni or we Kithni, we must be seen. It's not a joke. We are not in some football of Arsenal and Manhattan, where you cry when you're defeated or not. This is about our lives. We are looking for governorship to change the lives of Mombasa people. It's not a laughing matter. We are in full throttle. Hey.
The politics of the billboard is the latest showdown, occasioned by the fierce rivalry between Mombasa Governor Hassan Ali Joho and Awiti. In the 2013 general elections, Awiti supported businessman Suleiman Shabal for the governorship. This time, the two were in the ring together, and the battle seems to have just started. Francis Ontomwa, KTN News, Mombasa.
Well, as you can see there, of course, the campaigns and the upcoming election keeping some segments of the economy indeed very busy. Well, to give us additional insights into the effects of that election, that campaign, and the economy itself, in a studio with me, Pamela Mutebe, Head of Sales, Credit Bank. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Now, the question on a lot of investors' minds, as we have seen throughout this show, is this upcoming election affecting the economy in a negative way? What has been the view from where you sit? Have you been able to, well, keep business going, or is it flagging?
No, business is growing. I mean, we can say that if you're well prepared, stagnation or decline, history has shown that people who are well prepared, you don't need to decline or stagnate. There's a lot of business. In the economy, the GDP is at 5.5%. Yes. It means there's a lot of money that is there. People are getting this money.
So essentially what you're saying is that for those who are prepared to take advantage of this election period, there is business to be had.
Business is there. It is still thriving. Yeah. So you have to be prepared, yes.
There are times when the Kenyan economy would literally be on its knees towards the election. First, we'd see a huge influx of liquid cash.
Yes.
And then we'd see inflation shoot up.
Yes.
And then we'd see the central bank try to, well, put a lid on that by throwing in some really radical measures.
Yes.
That hasn't happened this time round.
No, I think the regulator is keen on ensuring that that doesn't happen. And with a lot of information there, out there, there's a lot of knowledge that is out there. So the regulator is prepared, the sector is prepared. You see, we are now a bit more controlled with all this liquidity that needs to come into the market that is unchecked. That doesn't happen anymore.
Yes.
So I think with modernization, with technology, we're able to cap that. Yeah.
There are those who then say that a lot of businesses, especially SMEs, are taking a wait-and-see attitude, other sectors of the economy. Like one of the stories we saw was NIC Bank and GM coming together for asset financing. They have been indicating that vehicle sales have been flagging over a period. And they're saying that investors are taking a wait-and-see attitude, that people are saying, we'll not buy these assets. Let's wait out the election and do it afterwards.
From where I see it, I would take a different approach. I want to speak differently and say that SMEs, especially entrepreneurs, they don't take a wait-and-see attitude. You know, these are people who are chap-chap, they're doing their business, So perhaps maybe big corporations would want a wait-and-see attitude. Again, I'm going back to the thing I said earlier, that you have to be well prepared and know this. I mean, elections, we knew that they were going to come.
Yes.
We have a date for it. So you have to be prepared for any incidentals, yes. Because of past history.
Yes.
But I find business people are still doing business. We have a lot of business. We are not even able to keep up with those business people. Yeah, so business environment has not really slowed down as people would want to suggest.
Yes.
Yeah.
My final question.
Yes.
The fact that in the election period, it's associated with risk.
Yes.
So there is political risk, there's political insurance.
Yes.
The concept of bank assurance and where you fit in all this, do you think you are able to bring some, peace of mind to that equation?
I want to stay away from the topic of politics and political insurance. I think, again, I want to say, if you know there are incidentals that can come, you should cover yourself. Make sure that you're protected. So yeah, if you believe that you as Wakaba, you should take insurance for that, you should.
Yes, and preferably take it through a bank like Charity Bank.
Yeah. We have a bank assurance arm. Yes, you can come and actually get the insurance from us.
Okay.
Yes.
Indeed, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us. Short and sweet, but indeed, thank you for your insights.
Yes.
It has been a pleasure having you here, and I think we want to bring it to a close on that note, and also bring the show to a close here on KTN Business Today. But just before we go, to give you a quick recap of our Twitter poll question, where we were asking, do you think the government has been overly ambitious in terms of going ahead with the early oil program? That question, of course, is on Twitter, and the hashtag is Business Today. Do continue to talk to us. Of course, that conversation continues. We cannot at this time be able to bring you the feedback, but of course, the fact of the matter is that we will be able to engage with you as the show does go on. You here today, just to let you know that in a few minutes we will be bringing you Worldview, which brings you news headlines from right across the region and right across the world. From us here in studio, it is do have yourselves